Hi guys, I'm Shmee. Hello to you and welcome back to the channel where today you join me at Estoril Circuit in Portugal with Lamborghini for the launch of the new Aventador Svj. Now behind me are two particularly special cars. That one is the current Nürburgring Nordschleife lap record holder for a production car. The one behind it is the 63 Special Edition. There are plenty of the cars around. We're going to go into a lot of detail, take a full look at the new Svj inside and out, and take it for a drive, a first drive on the track to see what it's like. So let's get started. This is the new Lamborghini Aventador Svj. You know you're in for a pretty epic day when the view in the pit lane starts something like this. So the Svj, standing for Super Veloce Jota. Jota was introduced for the Miura way back when it was converted into a race car, and that is what this car is all about, being lightweight, handling, power, technology. 770 horsepower from the 6.5 litre naturally aspirated V12. Menacing and aggressive aerodynamics. Active aerodynamics now on the V12 powered Aventador in the form of ALA, Lamborghini's Aerodynamica Lamborghini Attiva, that I'll tell you about in more detail later on. This was the launch colour, the satin green, but you can see the appearance of it with that full width wing at the rear, the sharpness, the edginess. It's a Lamborghini, it's dramatic, it's crazy, it's bold, it's in your face, and that is what these cars are supposed to be. And we're hearing that it's really quite quick on top of that. We'll go into more detail about everything to do with this, how they've taken weight out of it, how they've made it more powerful, how the active aerodynamics work. But I think first up, it's going to be time to jump into one of these to experience it on this circuit. All right, here we go. This is going to be my first drive in this ridiculous bolt. So I've got a lot to learn very, very quickly. Let's get comfortable here, move the steering wheel, there's the lever for this down there. We're gonna have the car first in Strada, then we'll go, no, let's start in sport mode, and maybe up to Corsa later on. But there is a fantastic view in front of me, and then this sounds ridiculous. So then, it'll be a lead follow. I'm following my friend Jerome Moule, who's driving in the satin red car in front of me. I am, of course, in a satin red car as well, one of the 900 Svj coupes. And yeah, I'm quite excited right now. I love driving Estoril. It's got brand new tarmac though, so I have to be aware of that. But in a second, it's going to be time to head out of the pit lane and get this started. Okay then, so the first thing I need to do is put the car into manual so that we are using the shifter paddles on the back of the steering wheel. The thing feels huge, I'm not gonna lie. It is a massive, massive car, but fortunately we have some rather wide open tarmac to enjoy. This is the perfect environment and exactly what this car's been developed for. So, out we head then, onto Estoril. The crackles already just sound insane. Everything about this car is ridiculous. The Aventador is kind of the definition of proper, uncompromising supercar. Nothing has been held back. Wow, that shift noise, the instant sound you get. It shifts incredibly quickly. It's still 7-speed automated manual, but it's been sharpened up remarkably. The grip already, the 4-wheel drive system at play. Wow, the sounds are just mega. The downshifts. That sound is nuts. And this is just sport mode. I'll go up into Corsa in a second, the full track setting. Holding those revs high as we come around towards the start straight. Automatically up into third in sport. Wow, up to 8,700 RPM. Let's put it up into Corsa mode, firm on the brakes in the first corner. Oh, the braking is sharp. You can feel that front end playing around. The shifts are violent in Corsa mode. The aero work is crazy, you can feel the difference. fluctuating the throttle makes to the input. We come around to the straight then, in Corsa mode, a full 8,700 RPM upshift. Wow, 240, 250, 260, 270. 270s down the straight, firm on the brake, a little bit of squirming around. The four-wheel drive system, the rear-wheel steering is actually helping you under braking, adjusting as you go. In through T1, the shifts are just savage though if you hold your foot planted. Goodness me! The level of power is crazy! Firm on the brakes. Hold the balance. Goodness, you can toy around with it so much. What an epic experience. You can feel the edge of limit, the edge of the grip. Goodness, you could hold it flat through here, but that feels a bit daunting, even 175. Woohoo! And I apologise that I think the previous driver of this car dropped some coins because I can hear the jingling around in the footwell on the carbon fibre, just reminding us that we're in this carbon monocoque. A little bit of understeer out there. Obviously traction is not off, we're not allowed to turn it off for today, but with the power that these cars have, I'm not necessarily sure that you would want to do that. This is just my first drive and we're already hurtling around at this pace. This is absolutely ridiculous. And onto the brakes, firm. Oh, feeling it squirming around. Cool down lap time. Whoa! Time to gather some thoughts. What a ridiculous experience. The noise though, the noise of this thing is where it's pretty much at. But also the feel, the ability to actually throw this weight around. It's not a light car. Yet it lets you do that. As we venture back into the pit lane, of course this is a road car. You'd be driving it out on normal public roads, and I have to say, the rear visibility is useless. The central support on the rear wing is bang in the middle of your view, with a pretty restricted view, to be honest, to even begin with, due to how the rear window is done. But I don't suppose that really matters. You shouldn't really need to look backwards, you're just looking at what's in front of you. And there we have it, my first drive. So let's hop on out and take a look at this thing in more detail. It's time then to go into all of the details, to take a complete walk around, to focus on what Lamborghini have done to transform their flagship model, the Aventador, into the new SVJ. So I've picked out this particularly stunning car behind that we're going to take a look at in more detail now. But I'd like to rewind a bit back to the introduction of the Aventador to begin with and talk about some of the different iterations that have come since, before taking a look at four primary things in more detail. So number one, the lightweight elements and components that keep the weight down on the car. Number two, we've got the active aerodynamics, introduced now with active aero for the first time in the Aventador. Number three, we'll touch on the handling and the suspension setup before we take a look and a listen to the V12 engine inside this raging bull. In fact, I think we just heard one start up in the background. Now the car behind me that we're about to look at is one finished by Lamborghini's Ad Personam department. That's the department that deals with bespoke custom cars, and as such, this one is painted in Viola Aletheia, and in this sunshine, it looks stunning. It's complemented nicely with the satin gold wheels, the monolock wheels, but the sunshine on the colour looks incredible with the contrast also of the satin carbon fibre. There's quite a lot of carbon, as you can see, around the car, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. But to rewind back to the beginning, about 6 or 7 years ago, Lamborghini introduced the V12 as their top-of-the-line model, and we have some incredible noises coming from that way down the pit lane right now. We might be doing that in a second. Of course, it's a long lineage that started with the Miura. There was the Countach, the Diablo, the Murcielago, and then the arrival of the Aventador. They took off the roof for the Aventador Roadster and then made the hardcore version called the SV, standing for Super Veloce, Super Fast. They made 600 coupes and 500 roadsters, and this has a lot of the characteristics of that car, combined with the facelifted model that then came afterwards, the Aventador S. Now, Now the Aventador S model took the power up. It introduced the ability to have a custom driving mode. It also arrived with Lamborghini's rear wheel steering setup. So what this is, the SVJ, is really a mix of the characteristics for the track of the SV along with the technology found in the Aventador S. So keeping the weight down as a result of that has been quite a challenge for them. They've achieved it. This car weighs 1,525 kilos, matching the weight of the SV Coupe. Now there are going to be 900 coupes of this, plus 63 of the special 63 edition that pays tribute to Lamborghini being founded back in 1963. There will also be 900 and then 63 again of a Roadster open top variant. So quite a few models for a limited edition. Almost 2,000 of them will be built in total. The SVJ, like I mentioned, stands for Super Veloce Jota. Jota being the ultimate in hardcore racing in terms of Lamborghini's terminology and the phrases and names that they've used on models before now. As such, to be suited for racing, it is important to consider keeping the car lightweight, as we listen to that noise of a car blasting past there. And if you think about it, as an evolution to the Aventador S, the incorporation of technologies like the rear wheel steering actually bring about a small weight penalty. You have extra mechanical components, another car just cruising by, and yet another one, and those obviously have some weight to them. And then you look at the bodywork, depending on wings, having Lamborghini's ALA system, the active aero system, means extra flaps, extra components, all of which have to be counteracted through the use of carbon fiber and lightweight body panels. So when you look around the back, and I was just taking in that rear wing, which is so unique in its design and styling, but of course carbon fiber to be lightweight, carbon fiber parts on the rear deck lid. On the 63 edition and via ad personam, you can actually have a carbon fiber complete rear deck lid and roof down towards the bonnet, but the skirts, various different parts, the diffuser, the bumper, all as light as possible. A lightweight exhaust system, the monolock wheels, the lighter wheels that you can have now for the car as well, all focused on keeping that weight down to 1,525 kilos. To continue then, we can move on to the aerodynamics of the SVJ. For the first time, active aero on an Aventador. Now it starts right around the front, if we come down here to take a look at the splitter, with ALA, Aerodynamica Lamborghini Attiva. It's actually ALA 2.0 after first being introduced on the Huracan Performante. Now there are elements that are visible, some that are less so, but this is the active aero management. For example, these openings you can see here that will activate at different speeds, either on one side or the other, to control downforce and basically enable the possibility of aero vectoring, so like torque vectoring, but by controlling the downforce from left side to right side depending which way you're turning. Now those start down at the front, as we can see. The airflow is controlled going under the car towards the diffuser at the back. We also have aerodynamic features, for example, like the S-ducts here in the front bumper. So you can see how this is completely open down towards the bottom, of course allowing air to come in and go over the top of the car to work with that rear wing. Around the side of the car you have these fins which also direct air towards the larger openings to keep the engine cool back there. You can see quite how large that radiator is, but this is a huge engine and a lot of cooling is very important. And then towards the back you can see in the center here of the rear deck lid the large opening, again to do with the ALA 2.0 system, where airflow comes through. It's guided up through this central pylon to the rear wing, and it's then split from one side to the other and released through these holes that you can see in the underside. Now the releasing of air causes a turbulent airflow behind the car, and that basically changes the downforce from one side of it to the other. So that works in harmony with the diffuser down below to basically give the car even more grip and performance as you're taking it through corners. And just right now we have another car rolling through. I love this, standing in the pit lane watching the SVJs. Mostly we're seeing satin red ones, but in the various different colours coming on through the back of this car, just looking mean and menacing. That was the launch colour, the satin green, that the car actually was first presented. So from an aerodynamic perspective, it's pretty mega. There's a lot of work going on here to do with keeping it streamlined, to do with keeping it having a lot of downforce, and obviously making it possible to go around tracks at great speed. The ALA system actually only comes into play when you're driving the car in Corsa mode, so not when you're in the standard Strada street mode or in sport mode, only when you're in Corsa for the track. But this brings us on nicely too to talk about the handling. So the suspension setup is 20% stiffer than the Aventador S. It's a very similar setup to that found in the SV. Of course, a firmer ride, more dramatic ride, giving you more handling and turn-in capability and performance from the front end in particular. It comes with Lamborghini ceramic brakes as standard always on the Aventador Aventador, and there's a new Pirelli P0 Corsa that's been developed as the standard tyre, and actually what we've been driving with today. There is also a Trofeo R tyre available for the car, which is the almost semi-slick, you could call it, the track performance tyre, but not so good in everyday conditions. So Corsas are the tyres that they will more frequently be found wearing. It all comes together to be controlled by the LDVA 2.0 system. So of course in a car you have computers that are bringing it all together. In this case it could be the steering, the suspension, the four-wheel drive, the gearbox, but it's also now operating the ALA system as well as the rear-wheel drive steering system as part of that. So all controlled by this one computer to effectively make everything as quick as possible. But this will bring us towards the rear again, where we can talk about the engine. Now we can't see too much of it because basically it's hidden away, but this is a rear panel that has race-style catches that will release on each side, and I can't do this one-handed, and then lift out. There aren't any hydraulic struts or anything like that. But back there we have the 6.5 litre naturally aspirated V12. As usual for a Lamborghini, you can see the firing order that's written on that plaque on the back, the different cylinders, the 12 cylinders, the way they launch, and in here we have 770 horsepower as well as 720 newton meters of torque. So the Aventador S is 740 horsepower, we're 30 up from that, and 690 newton meters, so again 30 up from that figure too, and it will rev up to 8,700 RPM. Now the performance numbers: 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, 2.8 seconds, 0 to 200 kilometers per hour, which by the way is 124 miles per hour, just 8.6 seconds, and this car will go on to a top speed in excess of 350 kilometers per hour, over 217 miles per hour. That is incredibly fast, and as we know, it can also lap the Nürburgring in under 6 minutes and 45 seconds, which is just ludicrous. Mid-rear mounted all-wheel drive system. The all-wheel drive system will change depending on the different driving modes, adjusting the amount of power that's going towards the front. So effectively think of it as sport mode being fun, track mode being very, very quick. Another substantial change is to the exhaust system. So previously on the different Aventador models, that had been found exiting from the back down at the bottom about where the number plate is now. But for this car, we have the Performante style tailpipes, the two distinct large round pipes, basically the most direct route out from the engine to the back of the car, with a new lightweight exhaust muffler of course, and again trying to save some weight there as well as giving us a very nice sound. So let's come through and have a look at the interior. We haven't really checked this out yet, and this car again is from Ad Personam with a number of unique and custom details, and it looks stunning and awesome in here. Just that noise again. Can't see the cars, but very happy to hear it. In fact, we could just catch the reflection off the grandstand there. But taking a look in here, you've got, for example, the sport style seats. These are actually the sportier seats rather than the fixed bucket that you can have, so it's different in different cars. But basically straight down to the carbon fiber monocoque found here. The stiffness of the car comes from having that carbon fiber construction rather than a more traditional frame. On the interior, perhaps it's slightly outdated infotainment. We can click through some of that a little bit later on. You've got the full digital display, you've got the lovely carbon fiber door cards with the pulls, I guess saving a little bit of weight versus having more traditional door handles. But basically the stripped out focused nature of the interior that you might expect to find in such a performance-based vehicle. So let me jump in now and start this up so we can hear what this car sounds like. So just this side we've got a little pouch that currently has the key in, so that you can see the key for this car, still the same key as originally with the Aventador, and then you have the start stop button right here in the middle. So let's lift up the flap and bring it into life. Where now you can see the displays enabled. You've got your different driving modes found just here: Strada, Sport, Corsa, and the Ego mode, the individual configuration mode, where you can see the displays just slightly change depending which mode you actually have it set up in. A few small notifications. Of course, the air conditioning is blowing very, very strong at the moment, which you turn down as so slightly fiddly system that you have to press different buttons to get into sub-menus to actually do. But here we are, inside the car. Just take a look at this, take a look at the view backwards over the engine bay. That is spectacular. Oh, I didn't realise it gave you a compass on the rear view mirror. So I think we should take a quick little listen to this, which will need us to be in sport mode for maximum crackles. For now then, let me leave this car because it is time to go for my full drive to experience this out on Estoril circuit in anger. So let's go find the other car. Now this time I'm a little bit more familiar with the track. It's a very heavy door to pull down. You've got the full carbon door card. So let's get comfortable in here. Sounds good, so does mine. We've got Corsa mode engaged. We'll probably put it back into sport later on to hear more of the crackles as we cool down. But I think I'm more or less set. It's absolutely baking today. But let me give my pace car driver a flash. And it's time.
Alright, all set. Here we go again.
To head back out. You know what? I think I'm as excited the second time round as I was the first. The noises of the car, the event of it, the occasion, the sense of drama that it brings about from what it is. You know, it's a Lamborghini Aventador, and it's not even just any Aventador. It's the SVJ, and it sounds like that. I hope we continue to have these kind of engines in the future. You know, just those sounds. So the thing about driving here is it's all about balance. Obviously we're fighting with the grip because of the new tarmac on the track. We're running on the P0 Corsas, the default tyre for this car, not the Trofeo R, which is optional, which would obviously give you a little bit more grip when they get up to temperature. What it means by fighting with the grip is that you have to control your speed, keep it balanced through the corner, but then with the four-wheel drive system, you pin it, and away you go, and it's so aggressive as it upshifts. Bounces up into silly numbers very quickly, you know, 220 with ease there, and I wasn't even going flat. And then you get these downshifts. Put it down to second, it's very happy in second. Sometimes you might want to hold third, and it feels a little bit unnatural to drop it down. It's such a beast. The wildest of bulls. So you get the balance, hold it, keep it on the balance throttle, unwind, hit it, and you get that savage kick in the back. Drop it down to second, through the tightest corners. You do get that sense of understeer around the front though if you're not a little bit careful with what it's doing. Of course, that's the balance I think you have to play off against itself, whether you want that earlier grip without the risk of the back flying around on you. Then you hold it around here, for example, hold it again all the way, start to feed in that power and keep it pinned. Full flat upshifts, and you feel that through your spine. It's insanely fast, 770 horsepower should be fast. I think I saw 278 there, hard on the brakes. Of course, these cars are getting driven hard around here. They're just doing lap after lap after lap with people driving them like this. This feels insanely fast. I do feel like the seats can just hold you a touch more snugly in. I'm a tiny bit too small for them, and I find some natural movement as a result. They're very firm, and I can tell you my back is feeling that. But this is about, well, being the ultimate in experience, and for that, not much touches it. What are we doing here? This is ridiculous. Goodness, and that noise constantly behind. Just got to watch that understeer. Trying to shift the weight around the front. If you go too early on the power, you can feel it pushing on out. It's just, I mean, I'm beaming from ear to ear. Of all the Aventadors I've ever driven, this thing is mega. So much fun. And you can see how it's capable of some of those times it's been setting around racetracks to get into the red line, but with this level of power down the straight, onto the brakes a little bit earlier, but get an opportunity to just hear some more of that. So good. So, tight on T1, use some of the exit curves. Oh, it's honestly this sensation that it just keeps going. It keeps going. It lets you put in the power so soon into the corner, down the hill, braking there. Now this is a tricky one because we've got to feed in the power going uphill without putting traction on. Get straight back over to the other side. Drop it down second again. Late apex around here. Spin Goodness me, absolute goodness me. All right then, it's time to cool down the car. So I'm going to put it back into sport, because what Lamborghini do here with the different driving modes is make sport the one for fun on the road. So it actually sounds better. You get more exhaust cracks in sport than you do in track mode. You get a slightly different display as well. The shifts are a bit different, they're not quite as aggressive, but down to second, it shifts with such a monumental sound. To be honest, the entire experience is just the noise. It's so dramatic, it takes over just everything that's going on around you. So good! Check that out as the satin green ones go past. But this is, my last moments driving here in the SVJ for now, just looking at the cars ahead. I love the exhaust placement, it looks so imposing. But to be honest, not that imposing to drive, and I might be getting almost too familiar with very high performance cars. Perhaps that's a slight unfair situation to be in. But with this, I've jumped in it, I've driven it hard, it's not been scary at all, and I've tamed the bull in a way that has been so much fun. Those upshift noises are great as well. Yeah, this rocks. The Aventador SVJ absolutely rocks. It's big, there's a slight tendency to understeer, but it's an absolute hoot to blast it round a racetrack. Alas, we swing back in then. But that was a pretty solid experience. Estoril in the Aventador SVJ. Back into neutral we go. A couple of quick blips. Ah, it's limited in terms of revs. Maybe the engine is a little bit more. I think that might even be it. But yeah, not bad, hey? Not bad at all. Let's return then to the Viola Aletheia car to take a look at more detail at the interior. So to jump in here and show you more of the controls, dashboard, displays, dials, and what you have going on inside the SVJ. So you have the smaller steering wheel greeting you right in front. You've got the fixed paddles fixed to the column rather than turning with the wheel, which I suppose makes sense with the 7-speed automated gearbox as opposed to the car having a double clutch. So you don't want to shift too much in the corners or you might risk upsetting the weight balance of the car. To close it down, you can see the Sensonum hi-fi system, the speakers that you have, the carbon fiber of the door card glistening very nicely in the sunshine, and then the door pulls to actually pull the doors down. They're quite heavy units, and then to release them and open them, you put your finger into that slot, pull that up, it opens up. On the door itself, you've got the lock-unlock, the mirror controls. Down here you have a few of your usual controls for lights and things that you'd expect. You've got the stalk down here, which I find slightly awkward for the indicators. Likewise on this side for the wipers. I did actually knock that once or twice while driving, interestingly. Then right in front of us we have the main display, where at the left you can see temperature details. In the center you've got the G forces here. You've got the ALA display that shows you what that's up to. You've got your rev counter, we're in sport mode at the moment, your gear selector. It's, I guess, quite a nice display. Almost quite textbook for Volkswagen Group style displays at the moment, but with a Lamborghini style skin over the top of it, and that sits underneath this carbon fiber bezel that you have on top. Over to the right side is where you have your main infotainment. Now the air conditioning is blowing quite strong at the moment, so I hope that's going over the top of the camera, but you can see here we've got the ability to go into the Ego mode and configure how we have this set up in terms of the powertrain, the steering, and the suspension. So you can have those in each of the 3 different settings depending how you'd like to have it. This, to be honest, is quite out of date and really needs a facelift. That's the same system, maybe with an updated software interface, but basically the same system as per the original Aventador now 7 or so years ago. Beneath that you've got your controls, like for example the lift system, which will very quickly put the front nose up into the air. It's going to put this back down again. Takes just a couple of seconds. You've got traction, hazards, and your window controls, and I always find these backwards, so you have to push it forwards to put the window down and pull it back towards you to push it up, which takes some learning. Anyway, your climate control, your different driving modes, start button, some hotkeys and controls for the infotainment. Obviously you've got nav, Bluetooth, media, entertainment, that kind of thing. Down here you've got the button for reverse. To put it into gear you just pull the paddle, and then manual with the M button on the right, and your electronic handbrake. Now in an Aventador there is not much by way of storage there is no glove box, there are no door pockets, there's very little behind you. So you're basically limited to just this pouch down here where the key is. So if you want to put your phone and your wallet and things in places, there isn't really anywhere to do that. A lot of people put bigger pouches into the side of them. One of the drawback, but you have this window that rakes down to the front. No idea where the front bonnet is, but it's not all that far away. I know that. So the roof of this car is finished with some piping. This is very, very smart. Matches with the seats, the carbon back seat. I quite like the seat more than I do the bucket. I find the bucket way too intense and solid. But looking around, 12-volt socket right behind you. You've got carpet for the back wall, basically stripped out where it can be. So the floors, for example, have, well, carbon fibre down at the end of the footwell. It's all lightweight wherever it possibly can be. So what else can I show you? There's not really too much more to the interior of this car. Of course, if it was the Roadster, the two roof panels would lift off and be stored away in the front. And in fact, let me just come around quickly and show you the front. So the lever to open the front bonnet is just there. You give that a pull, you step on out, head on round, just to have a quick look at the storage capacity in here. It's not all that much for what is quite a big car. And in fact, it's got a dividing wall in it at the moment. I guess this comes out, but you can see you're not going to be fitting a load of stuff down in there. Although you've got a tiny bit of space behind the drivers and passenger seats. That clicks back down, but obviously no space in the rear. There is one particularly big engine lump back there. Nice design here with the Italian flag worn on these side vents. They're enlarged from before, 10% more cooling for the engine, even some openings at the back. Of course, openings everywhere there can be for the cooling required and the airflow through and around the car. But in here, I guess it's a car that just has a lot of presence, a lot of prominence. Look in the mirrors at the wing over the back. Look at the rear view. The rear view is particularly poor. You cannot see very much due to the rear deck lid and the central pylon for the rear wing. Basically, out the back, you're not going to see what's right behind you at all. We have a lovely trio rolling past at the moment, the grey, the white and the green. But I actually wanted to talk about these two cars sitting here. Let's start with the camouflaged car. Now this is the car that achieved that time on the Nürburgring Nordschleife. That makes it the current record production car around the green hell. Now this was driven before it was fully launched, hence the camouflage, hiding it from photographers so you couldn't see the full aero. There have been a number of spy shots along the way before the car was launched so we could tell the rough shape of the wing, but it was driven by Matteo Mapelli in that 6 minutes 44.97 seconds, stealing the record from Porsche's 911 GT2 RS. So that is a pretty special car to have achieved that time. Now alongside it is the 63 edition of the SVJ. So 63 of these are being made. Effectively think of it as being built by the ad personam department. So a very high specification. You have the livery or design with the 63 with the pinstriping on various different elements, more carbon fiber than standard, so over this entire roof section and the rear deck lid, the striping that you can see also there around the exterior and even on the fins and blades around the various parts of the diffuser. Then inside there are a number of touches as well that continue those dual tone themes with the white and with the gold on the bucket seats. But two very special examples right there of the Aventador SVJ. In this car I can show you the bucket seat. So this car is fitted with the full permanent carbon fiber seat, so you can see the different shaping. I did find it ever so slightly wide while I was driving, but it's an aggressive looking seat with that design, that Y-shaped design that continues in a lot of places in the design overall of this car actually. It's very straight backed, but it's got good shoulder support, the Lamborghini logo embossed up in the headrest, and of course carbon fiber that carries on down the back. But for example, that shape, you spot it right there inside the headlights and a number of places around. And in fact, do you know what? Normally yellow is a Lamborghini, the Lamborghini colour, but for me, this doesn't actually work as well as some of the others. It's got the gloss carbon fibre. You could opt to have the car with gloss or with satin for the exterior visual parts. But I think satin with one of the other colours for me, to be honest. For an extra bonus, have a look in here at the cars that are around. The Miura SV. This is a Miura SVJ, the original Yota. This is the car that really brought about the new one. A Miura SV converted for racing. Then we've also got a Diablo SV, and on the other side, I think one of the internet's favourites, the Murcielago LP670-4 SV as well. So a bit of Lamborghini history here, with the various different models on display in the pit garages, as well as an example of the wheel and tyre from Pirelli, some artwork that's been done while we've been here on this side, there's actually a simulator to run on the Nürburgring Nordschleife. And if we just squeeze on through this side, you can see some of the examples of the ad personam options that you can have for this car and a configurator as well. So the different exhaust tips, wheels, brake calipers, some of the paint colours. So that's the car I was filming the exterior walk around with. That's a very shmee colour, that is right there. What's that? Blue Asia. If you're interested, got that. Different seatbelt colours, stitching, different materials for the leather and Alcantara for the seats, embroideries that you can have. Basically, you can customise it in any way you would like. As the green car comes past, there's something I can show you with the two cars that I'm actually standing next to do with the contrast of the carbon fibre. So on the left, we've got a satin white car with glossy carbon fibre, and on the right, we've got a gloss grey car with satin carbon fibre. And I think having it that opposite way round gives a nice contrast to the look. And then on this satin white car, there is also another option I haven't talked about yet, which is to have the SVJ logo on both rear three quarters. It's on both sides of the car. That's become a traditional thing with the high-end limited edition special Lamborghinis, and it's actually painted on. It's not a vinyl that's on the top, so there's no edge to feel. It's completely underneath the lacquer and very smooth, and I think it looks quite smart as well. So that's another thing you can spec. And in fact, this car in satin white really does look very good. To top off the afternoon, I'm going to jump into this grey car now to go out for some hot laps with Jeroen, who was leading me in the pace car earlier, and it's safe to say he knows a thing or two. He races Lamborghinis, so let's jump in and head on out to see what it's like from the passenger seat. How's it going? How you doing?
All good, how are you?
I'm very, very good. Looking forward to experiencing a proper driver, I guess I can say, in the car now. Somebody who really knows how to handle this thing. So, belt up.
All good to go?
I'm very good to go.
Excellent. Well, last time I think we were in a car together, it wasn't snow and ice, so a little
Correct.
bit grippier conditions now.
Slightly different, slightly different. That was when the Aventador S was brand new. We went to the Winter Accademia in northern Italy. So, what are we gonna do?
So I'll just take you out on a couple of laps, show you what this car is capable of. Obviously, brand new Aventador SVJ, an absolute monster around the track, which was definitely proven by my colleague Marco Mopelli doing the Nordschleife lap record a couple of months ago, which I'm still completely in awe of, by the way, what he did there with the car. But anyway, I'll try and at least show you what the car is capable of here on beautiful Estoril, very sunny and hot Estoril, I have to say.
Savagery of the upshifts. So other cars are out at the moment doing photo laps and the like. But even in that space, 210 with effortless ease.
And now the four-wheel steering system really kicks in and helps you rotate that car. The traction of the four-wheel drive is just phenomenal.
And you can put the power down so much earlier than I was perhaps being brave enough to do so earlier. The system just pulls you around. I notice immediately the point at which you're back on full power is much earlier.
And it's just such an incredible feeling, being able to throw around and race a V12 Lamborghini like this, flat out for the king.
When you take a corner at 200 kilometers an hour, 240 down the back straight. I can see it's 1.2G, it just showed going around there to the left. We're 1.3, yeah, we got 1.3. And now it opens up again for the start straight.
To about 280 probably.
Yeah. Wow, well I love the track. Goodness, might need a lap to cool down for a second here.
Yeah. We'll have a little cool down lap.
You've at least got the steering wheel to cling on to.
Yeah.
My goodness.
No,
Do you know what? There's just nothing else like this, is there?
There isn't. And I have to say that already the Aventador is obviously one of my favorite cars, slightly being biased, but still, it just engages you so much and it gives you so much joy every single time. And now with the SVJ, I also love what they did with the engine. It's just a minor update actually, but the 30 horsepower, the way it sounds, it sings, and it just pulls all the way to that 8,500 RPM rev limit.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like a Formula 1 engine in a way, or something, that high-pitched wail that it
It
has.
is high-pitched, the crackles are great, the shift's also slightly reworked, you can feel a bit of that in the way it drives.
Absolutely, and then especially in sport mode, if we just speed up a little bit more, the downshifts are
followed by the gunshot crackles behind.
This is nothing like it, and you now also have an Aventador V12 Lamborghini that you can really play with. What Lamborghini obviously did with the Performante was already incredible, making it such a nimble and joyful thing. And now with this one, with the four-wheel steering system and the balance that it has, and the responsiveness for the engine, you can really play around with it. So we come a little bit to this.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, you can even make a V12 Lambo just oversteer and slide and have fun with it and control it.
That was one of the things. It's a lot about the balance. You move the weight of the car when you drive it in that style. It lets you do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It lets you play around with it.
Yeah. When you then lift off, it just rotates so nicely around its center axle, and it's so predictable. And then with the four-wheel drive system as well, and the active front steering together with the four-wheel steering system, it's so responsive. You can just, you can just put it wherever you want.
Well, that was an experience. Thank you ever so much for your time.
You're very
welcome. Thank you for leading me earlier, and thank you for driving me now for the laps.
Excellent.
Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
I do really like that spec in the purple. So many SVJs in one place. What an experience today. What an experience this has been. Well, the day is coming towards an end, but what a day it's been. Driving in the SVJ, he says, as they just go past, filming at the moment. The non-stop sounds and sights, another car coming down the pit lane in the sport mode, making some lovely, lovely crackles as it does it. But this is really the last of a dying breed, the emotion of a true supercar. Some impracticality, some absurd design and look, some craziness, and sheer just bonkers character in it that really makes it something exciting to drive. Yes, the gearbox might not be the fastest in the world. It might be a bit too big and heavy to really throw it around the track like some of the more lightweight cars that are now available on the market. But this is what a child draws if you ask them to draw a supercar. It's the shape of a Lamborghini V12, an Aventador with a big wing, some aggressive aero, and the colours and sights and sounds that we're seeing of the cars here in the pit lane at Estoril. So I hope you've enjoyed this full look at the new Aventador SVJ, seeing the likes of the 63 edition, the Nürburgring record holder, my first driving experience, and then a more technical look at what Lamborghini have done to actually create the car in the first place. It's been amazing though. Estoril is always awesome to drive, and I've enjoyed this one an awful lot. So thank you very much to Lamborghini for the opportunity to come down and join them. Thank you of course to you guys for your support and for watching the videos. I really appreciate it as always. But that's it for this time. I will see you guys again very soon. Cheers.